It's time for Motohop on Air.
Welcome to episode 12.
Episode 12, I'm proud of ourselves.
I am too. So we are recording this November 8th, 2023, 9 o'clock in the evening.
Finally, before 11.
Well, I was going to say, right on time because we did set the clocks back, so it's kind of still 10, but...
I don't know why you aim for being as late as possible.
I don't. We've got to move it up next week because one of us got employed.
Really cramping our style.
I mean, I was already employed, but you're now employed, and...
I understand what it feels like to not have time to do things for yourself. No. I'm shooketh.
I am proud of us, though. We are now over 500 downloads.
Yay. 500 yays.
So that's exciting.
And shout out to the new HR guy in case he listens.
Oh, yes.
That's to you, John.
Yep.
Turns out our new HR guy is like
your new HR guy.
My new HR guy. I don't know what we call him. We said it's not a motorhead, but he's got some bikes and he thinks I'm cool now. So we're like friends, I hope.
Yeah.
I don't want to get on HR's bad side.
Well, I guess let's start with what's in your cup.
I actually went simple with champagne. I was trying to get myself like super hyped and excited and celebratory, and like by the end of the day, I just don't feel anything. So
champagne celebratory.
Anything can be celebratory if your heart is in the right place.
That is fair. That is fair.
And I am just kind of tired from not really sleeping last night, but it's okay. It's okay. We're going to get through. And what do you got?
So mine's a little fancier. I went with a hot toddy.
But different.
So we went to World Market the other day.
Spent all our pennies because that's what World Market does. They're like, I think you're hungry a little bit. How about you take one of everything?
Yeah. Going to World Market hungry is as bad or possibly worse than going to the grocery store hungry.
We spent less than $100, which is pretty good.
Because I exerted massive self-control.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy all the things.
I don't even remember what we bought. It's like gone now. It's everything just vaporized.
The one thing that's not gone yet is we got a hot toddy mix from Wood Stove Products out of New Hampshire. And it has basically everything other than you add your own hot water and choice of your alcohol, whatever alcohol you want to add.
Or not.
Yeah, or not.
I tried it without alcohol the other day. It was kind of on the sweeter side because it does have like the honey in it already. Mm-hmm. And I'm not someone who sways sweet, especially when drinking. So to me, with just honey, I could have gone more water. But I imagine that when you add some sort of alcohol, it may cancel a lot of that out.
It does. It does.
Good.
That and that cinnamon stick's been sitting in there for a minute now.
Yeah.
And,
so what do you think? Better
spicy.
or worse than making it ourselves?
It was significantly less work.
I made the other ones for you.
Yes.
They're both less work for you.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it's 3 parts, hot water or hot tea. If you want alcohol.
Optional adult beverage.
Yeah. And then the mix.
Yeah. And it does have a few things we didn't put in ours, like ginger, which could be like good. Because when I was drinking it, and I don't have any side effects of any actual illness, but I like a good ginger drink or something like that. I was thinking it would be like a medicine ball from like Starbucks, how I got us those. Kinda. If you were to add a little more lemonade, it might be like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, drink it hot. It could just be like really good. I could have just added more water though too. So fun to try to find streamlined ways of enjoying things, but easily made at home regardless.
Yes. Yeah, very easily.
Cheaper than going out, even though it was $15 for the bottle of concentrate. Still, that's like, what, 2/3 of a drink going out? We haven't even bought drinks out in so long.
I mean, based off of the pacing, if that bottle is $15, I don't know, we're probably going to get like 10 hot toddies out of it at least, depending on how big we make them.
I think that's the thing is like so much of my life I was afraid to spend more than a couple dollars on anything. But when you really break it down, like I don't know. I guess I'm getting lazy in my age. I just want everything to be as simple as possible and I'm willing to pay a little more.
Yeah. Well, where do you want to start? I see you have a note in here, winter projects.
Thought we could talk about winter projects. I also came up with an idea for a new segment, which I didn't tell you about.
Okay.
So that's cool. We could call it like the good, bad, and the ugly or something.
Okay.
Some people do kind of like highs and lows of their week. And I was like, oh, we could do like a high, a low, and then something that's just like really annoying right now. So
2 bads and 1 good.
Like, it doesn't have to be bad, but just something that's like annoying. I don't know. So like for me, I was like, okay, good is like, oh, I started a new job. Like everyone's really nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Bad was probably like last night with our tiniest dog. She just kind of was like super lethargic, and I was like in full panic mode.
Yes, you were.
Thinking.
And then I was as a result.
You were what?
Also in panic mode as a result.
Yeah, I mean, I know our dogs pretty well, and she was just super lethargic out of nowhere. And I was like, of course, you just assume the worst. You know, I had our friend on speed dial who worked in emergency veterinary for 10 years. But I'm like, if I don't pay enough attention, like I can't even call her. You can't even call for help if you don't really like have a good enough assessment of the situation to ask for help. And so I was like, all right, I need to like get a better grip of like what is actually going on. We did just eventually find a tick on her, which I don't know what like the actual side effects of ticks on dogs are. Would she go into like an immune response that quickly if it was only like a couple hours?
Not necessarily. Well, immune in the sense of like a histamine reaction.
Yeah.
Like bug bite in general.
Yeah, because I thought maybe her face was a little swollen, and we got fresh Benadryl because apparently
yes,
we are officially the people that let all their drugs expire in their cabinet. But the only creatures that take Benadryl in our house are dogs. So and that's like a quarter of a pill.
It's just a dog stash of Benadryl.
Yeah, basically.
It literally is a quarter of those little tiny tablets.
So after I pulled the tick off of her, I slept next to her very close last night. Every time she blinked, I woke up. So that's part of why I'm dragging a little bit today. And then like the ugly, I think could be just like trying to get on the other side of our other dog's adjustment to her anxiety medication.
Okay.
So kind of annoying. Like it's not really her fault. I'm not really like upset about it. So I think that's trying to like tap into like what we're going for here. I'm like, oh, that's just something like for you, it could be like another thing wrong with your Sportster. It's like, well, there's nothing you can really do about it. It's there. You could get upset about it, or you could just accept it for what it is, and it's just annoying.
Okay.
So, do you have a good, bad, and ugly, or you can postpone until next week and think about it? But I thought it'd be something kind of fun to.
So I'll do this on the fly. Let's see. So for the good, the Sportster is pretty much back together. Not enough for me to go take it for a ride. I still have the rear fender ripped apart, but the exhaust went on. It's finalized. The real good part of the entire Sportster thing is the fact that my $20-ish gamble on the Super, I did not expect it to work at all based on the reviews. Amazon knockoff carb rebuild kit for the Super E, SNS Super E. It worked the portions I needed to work.
When did that show up? Recently?
Yeah, like a week ago.
Oh, I don't even know what that looks like. Okay, carry on.
It was just a bag. It had a bunch of little parts in it.
Oh, okay.
For me to rebuild the carburetor on the Sportster because I had rebuilt it with portions of it with a genuine kit, but like not a full master rebuild kit. And if I left the fuel on, it would just dump out the overflow. The needle was new, but the seat was not. So the only parts I cared about working in this $20 gamble Amazon kit was the new needle and the new needle valve seat, both of which went in. It does not appear to be dumping fuel anymore. Timing is set. Made some new spark plug wires.
Do you have a bike that has had I don't even know the correct terminology, a good carburetor on it? Like, do you have a vehicle that you haven't even messed with it on?
No, the Vulcan? No, the Vulcan's fuel injected.
Oh, I don't know what that means. So it doesn't have a carburetor?
No, it just works.
So then it is the Vulcan. The Vulcan's the winner because you've been messing with the carburetor on the Rascal.
That's more me switching to aftermarket carburetors. The Scarabeo technically wasn't a carburetor issue, but was the fuel pump for the carburetor that was causing an issue. The Royal Alloy
Does it have one?
It has a carburetor and has not had any issues, but I also bought that new.
Yeah. That seems to be the way to go, huh?
Yeah, well,
maybe if you go quality over quantity.
What'd you say? A bunch of quality motorcycles? Multiples? Yeah. I guess the
3.
bad. Oh, I don't know. What would the bad be?
You don't have to have a bad.
So decided to start working on the Fiero, which I don't know that I've mentioned before, so we'll circle back to that. Went to put the battery in that I bought for it. Battery tray and battery tray support, gone. Totally just gone.
Was there a battery in it?
Yeah.
How was it sitting there?
Poorly.
Oh, good. So
rattling
what happens?
Around.
So it just like would fall at the bottom?
No, it kind of can wedge itself over in the corner of where it sits, but it's just going to like bounce around as I drive down the road.
So what's that solution? Can you buy one of those or you have to like makeshift one?
No, new. Just need to buy a new battery support and battery tray. Luckily, Fiero store exists. And then what was I going to do for the ugly? Oh, the ugly. Not as bad as I thought whenever I first told you that the Sportster may have another issue. Mm-hmm. I still feel like the whole journey of the Sportster started because the exhaust on the front cylinder. So up until the exhaust I just put on it, it had the shotgun exhaust from Lowbrow, which is kind of like high-mounted drag pipes. The front exhaust would get like cherry red, like hot.
That doesn't sound... Oh, can we cook marshmallows on it, though?
You could have cooked whatever you wanted on that exhaust. It got so hot. So I started trying to figure out what the issue was. Found an intake leak. That was the start of it, and then everything up until now, essentially. So after getting the car back together, resetting the carb settings, and knowing I'd redone the static timing and everything, I had it running today. And it was running mostly good. But it felt like the front cylinder was still firing differently than the rear. So I pulled the plugs and decided I was going to hot soak it with seafoam. And then all the seafoam disappeared out of the cylinders.
Where did it go?
Well, that means it's going down past the piston, which means the rings are not seated completely. And at first I thought it was just the front cylinder. It was both cylinders. So... Oh. I was worried I had a compression issue. Put a compression tester on it. It's not as bad as I was fearing because a lot of what I was finding online was by the time people realized they had an issue, they were pulling like 90 psi on the front cylinder. The front's at like 165 from memory and the rear's at like 175. So I don't know. It's enough to run. It's not great. So that's on the list of things to address somewhere.
Do you need to fix it before you can, ride it?
I mean, should I? Probably. Do I have to? No. Worst case, I hurt the engine more, and either way, it results in me disassembling the engine. That's
a pretty bad case, I would say. It's not just a worst case, that's... Ugh.
If I fix it now, I disassemble the engine. If I wait until there's other damage, I'm still disassembling the engine.
Okay, so that bike is still at the bottom of my list.
Yep. Did you hear it, though, when you walked out?
Yeah, it didn't sound like it was going to stall out like it normally does.
Yeah. How do you feel about the new exhaust?
It's a very consistent sputter.
Yeah. Does it sound better?
You know what it sounds like?
What?
Steam engine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. What did it sound like before?
Like the pulley. A dying potato.
Oh.
Like a very inconsistent... Sounded like it was going to stall out. I thought anyways. I don't know if
Yeah, I mean, that's... Your opinion can be whatever. Yeah. But you think it sounds better now?
Yeah, I'd say it sounds a little more like... Has a little more pep in its roll.
Okay.
I'll take stepping, that. So...
I mean, I think it sounds better now too, but I think that's both the exhaust and the fact that I think it's just running significantly better than it was. So...
Yeah, well, that's good. That's headed in the right direction. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, do you want to touch on your winter project note now, or you want me to jump into other stuff?
Well, I guess we can jump into other stuff. We'll use that as buffer.
Okay.
Or break things up.
Come back to it.
Yeah, we can push
There's a lot of winter ahead. Yeah.
There's a lot of other stuff to talk about that I think is probably more time sensitive.
Okay. So the first one, we have pre-ordered a Motocompacto.
Joint custody.
Yep.
Co-parenting.
Yeah. Until we decide it's awesome and buy a second one, right?
Yeah, it's going
Fleet
to take
of
some
8.
convincing. What are you going to do with them?
I don't know.
We should make
I just
a flag.
like to get a rise out of you.
It'd be cool if we can make some sort of way to hang a flag off the back and do a flag of a Motocompacto on a Motocompacto.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There's so many bad ideas I have just because it looks ridiculous.
I have so many ideas for this.
Are they bad? Because mine are.
Some are. Some aren't.
It's okay.
The one I told you about, I don't know that I want to say it on air yet.
Okay.
Are
we going to market it, or we don't want anyone to steal it?
I don't know. I doubt anyone's going to get to it before I do.
That's okay. Just wait. Don't.
You sure? You think I should wait?
Well, you said you were going to wait. I don't know what you're talking about, so just wait.
Okay.
But what did the guy tell you? Tell everyone what you were told.
Yeah, called the local dealer.
You called the closest place. So we're in South Akron.
Yep.
You didn't really dig very deep. You had a contact, so you reached out to him just for funsies, and he had no idea what you were talking about.
No, I think he vaguely knew because he knew to send me to the parts department. So that's the funny thing. While it is a rideable vehicle, it is not a vehicle in the sense of you do not deal typically with a salesperson at the dealership. You deal with the parts counter.
That's weird.
Yes. So I ended up reaching out to the dealer after we had talked it over and decided we were going to get one. There was a Reddit group. I had read a little bit in there. So how they have it set up is very strange. So you can place the order through the website, the Motocompacto site. But when you do so, you have to select a dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Once you place the order, it is then up to the dealer to actually order it.
So it's not automatically placed and shipped to these dealers. It's put on a special order ticket and dropped in a suggestion box.
Put in a queue for the dealer, basically saying person A has requested a Motocompacto.
Okay, so I have a parallel experience to that.
Okay.
Not fully experienced. This is rumor, so it has not been proven.
Okay.
But I trust the people because they say that Costco, when you order a cake, you just fill out a piece of paper and drop it in a box.
Yeah.
And just trust that it's going to be there when you pick it up. Sometimes I forget what year it is. And obviously we're used to when we order Domino's, you have a progress bar and hey, this is where your order's at, and immediate tracking, and the hypothetical
instant
name of the
gratification.
Absolutely. Or at least security.
Yeah.
No, Costco, you just put your name on a business card or whatever, drop it in and
hope a cake is ready for you when you show back up to acquire said cake.
Yes, I've heard of people questioning the system, and it's offensive.
Well,
so we're going to have to try it.
I think people need to question the system for the Motocompacto.
So make sure you call and confirm if you fill out on the website.
Well, because what happens is if the dealer doesn't submit the order, some amount of days later, which I don't remember how many it is right now, you'll then get a cancellation email. Because if the order doesn't get submitted within a certain time frame,
it just times out?
It times out.
Oh, that's good.
And then you get a refund.
Well, hopefully you get a refund. Well, that's the thing, too.
You do, because the funds are handled by the website.
Because if you order online, you have to pre-order and pay, right? Did you end up putting a credit card down?
No, I tried to give him a credit card, and he's like, nope, I don't want one right now.
Maybe it's because obviously enough demand that there's not a huge loss if you don't pick it up.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I guess that would be if you want to buy a couple weeks and you don't want to pay for it right away, call the dealer directly. Although I'm sure they're probably supposed to. Who knows? It's probably not consistent.
I am just totally astonished.
A little skeptical, I am.
Well, no. So I'm astonished the fact that, this is what I got from our dealer. They ordered 10. They're keeping 2 to display on the floor. And are selling 8 of those first 10. I was slot 8.
Congratulations.
This was less than a week after they went on sale.
No, but it was a full week. It was was it yesterday or the day before? So did they go on sale November 1st? Because that was
so 2 days ago. So
multiple days.
It was the 6th.
Okay.
Right? So
sure.
Depending on how we're splitting hairs, 5-6 days. Because it was the morning of the 6th that I talked to him.
I'm just saying it's not like
Anyways.
the first day, but yes.
No, it wasn't the first day, but still, I fully expected for them to say, we don't have any on order, or for them to say that they had ordered 5 and all 5 were available.
Mm-hmm.
Because that seems to be the theme, is most dealers are ordering 5-ish. Or I guess I should say the feedback that's been sent out is a lot of dealers, especially ones that put in much larger orders, got their first 5 shipped. And then the rest seem to be trickling out. It appears right now that the bulk of the availability is going to be more in December. But is it not surprising to you that there are 8 people in this area interested in that Motocompacto?
It really is. Like, I just assume that everyone around here is old and tired. And they just, I don't know, because I don't feel like the whole, like,
a
motorcycle nerd vibe, you know? It's just like, because we've talked about how there's not really
rideable laptop.
Yeah, or briefcase. They keep calling it the rideable briefcase. Yeah. Since we've kind of all, like, agreed that there's not really a target market for it, it's kind of like a weird thing. Plus, you're kind of just like, it's a $30 toy. It really doesn't have any function other than fun. It's literally putting the fun in function. And it's great, I guess. Like, maybe we'll see him around and you can come up with, like, a secret wave or something.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. It makes me want to, if I have more free time, call other dealers around us and see what their just orders look like. Because I would have never guessed that they had already had 7 of them reserved.
You're gonna just call and be like, "Hey, we're doing like a market research survey." I've got a friend who does that.
Yeah.
She's Canadian though, so I don't know that she's gonna want to like call around for us. But she would have been a really good candidate for like outsourcing.
I will say the one thing that I did discover that I find kind of cool, because you're kind of a Honda fangirl, but from the car side, and I have always liked Honda. My family have owned Hondas, and what I've always found prideful is the amount of manufacturing and engineering that occurs in Ohio for Honda. So the Motocompacto, they said, was designed in California, engineered in Ohio, and then made in China. But pretty cool that some of the engineering occurred in Ohio for the Motocompacto.
Do they have like some sort of like manufacturer or something?
What do you mean?
I wonder where that would happen.
Where they
would engineer in Ohio. Like, why?
Oh, so Ohio is one of their big, they have a decent amount of concentration of their electrical engineers are in Ohio.
Do they have like an
I don't know if it's at their
maybe
Marysville plant or where. Yeah, they have multiple locations in Ohio. The Goldwing was built in Ohio for a while, the Accord.
Look at us.
Yeah.
On the map.
But, and I don't know if I said this already, so the dealer said they're expecting that those first 10 mid-November, which we're practically there.
Yeah, that's what I told you.
Which means poor guy's got about a week and a half before I start calling him
Before you start showing up every 3 hours.
Yeah. Just
before work, lunch hour, after hour.
I just figured, maybe I'd catch you on your lunch and see what you're up to, and if my Motocompacto had come in yet.
Waiting for him when he gets home. He'll be sitting on his stoop.
Yeah.
Poor guy. He doesn't even know.
So I downloaded the app. The app is pretty slick.
There's an app?
Yeah, because...
For what?
So, this is why. You connect it to the Motocompacto. You can either set a destination, and it'll give you turn by turn. At least I'm assuming turn by turn, but more importantly what it does is it tells you whether or not you have enough range to get there.
Oh.
And it plots out the route.
So it's going to like pull data from your
Yeah, it's going to look at the current state of charge of your Motocompacto, and then where you're going, and tell you what your final state of charge is going to be. The other thing, so of course it's Honda, so it's like very cutesy, right? So you can open the map and you can just draw a path you want to do, and it'll just lay that out. So you don't have to put like a start and an end point. You can just like draw your finger.
Because you don't have to be on the
wherever you
road. It's kind of like a walking path, more or less, right?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
the other thing is there's a 3D mode. So you can like put your route in and then click the 3D mode and you drive a little 3-dimensional
Is it like
character.
a game?
Yeah. And there's like coins you can pick up. There's no score, it appears. And then there's like trophy achievements in the app. One of them you get. So for every
like a leaderboard?
Well, there's not a leaderboard I've found yet, but you can like collect these and you have a rider, and what trophies you have gives you different adjectives for your rider. So if you change your outfit so many times, you get the whatever the trophy is. So then instead of it saying new rider, you can make it say styling rider. My favorite one is if you open the support page 5 times, there is a Karen award.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's for. I wonder if the dealer gives you that, depending on how many times you go in asking for your mobile before it's ready.
No, but so I went through and they like tell you how to earn them, some of them more explicitly than others. So I went ahead and earned as many as I figured I could ahead of time, including the Karen trophy, which let me pull that up and I'll tell you what it is. It says, "Easy there, Karen. Our support page has been there for you 5 times. We're getting the feeling you like us. You good?" And it gives you the "I want your manager" title. So
that's going to be you for sure.
So you can set it to, on your little Motocompacto rider screen, you can change it to the "I want your manager" rider.
It'd be funny if it was like Waze so you could see other people on motos.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll do that at some point. I don't know.
Fun.
But yeah, so the app's kind of cool. Yeah, just excited to get it now. Tons of plans.
And thank goodness our road was recently paved.
I almost forgot this part. I also figured out. So when he says it's ready, I fully plan on having you take me there because I already calculated the route from the dealership to my work.
Okay, well,
and it should only take 4%.
You don't. Okay, so you're assuming it's going to come like half charged or something.
Hopefully more than 4%.
You could have well, you don't want them to open it really.
Mode that they revert into after 30 days if you don't ride it. That basically like shuts it down so the battery doesn't deplete as fast.
Is there sidewalks between the dealership?
The full way.
Oh, is that the sidewalk that I walked on after you dropped me off to get my tires done, and you basically told me that people were going to drive off the road and hit me? Is that the same one?
I don't think I said drive off the road and
You're like,
hit
how did you get to Target? And I said, I walked. And you're like, on the sidewalks? Be careful. And like they're wide sidewalks.
To be fair, there's a lot of bad drivers.
There's like a devil strip, which had a slip in the Akron term there, but there's a strip of grass. Like it's
the tree lawn.
Yeah, whatever you devil strip.
Yeah, devil strip to us, but other people may know it as a tree lawn.
Yeah, so it's not like it's like even like a sketchy sidewalk like right on the road. It's like
where does it have a devil strip?
What?
All the way down.
I guess I don't even
Arlington. There's nothing. It's just sidewalk right on the curb.
Oh, well, between Tire Place and Target, there was grass next to it. So it wasn't, or maybe it wasn't. Either way, I didn't feel that close to the road. That's and fine. It's like a 45 mile per hour there. But you told me to be careful. People are bad drivers.
They are. They are very bad drivers, and there are all kinds of wrecks in that area.
They should be able to stay off the sidewalks and just hit each other in the street.
I, however, on my Motocompacto, will have a headlight, a tail light, I believe a brake light, and just a totally rad suitcase scooting down the road at 15 miles an hour.
And I feel like we need to get you like maybe like a children's, your head's too big, a bicycle helmet with tassels on it.
One of the little propellers.
I was thinking some sort of like glittery tassel to fly out behind you, like a fringe.
We need to reach out to Liza and see where she got the unicorn helmets.
You think it would fit your head?
I imagine they make it more than one size.
If you're only going a couple miles per hour, like if all goes as planned, you really shouldn't be able to hurt yourself.
No, but I looked at, they have like...
People are going to think that you like escaped from somewhere.
You saw the helmets that they featured in the like first rides for the journalists, right? They looked almost like...
The journalists? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay. A few different news outlets have been able to already ride the Motocompacto.
Oh, you mean like, okay.
And they all had the same helmet on.
Yeah, they were like a white. It was probably...
Yeah, it had a small brim, kind of like a horseback riding helmet.
Oh, like an equine helmet.
Yes, yeah. So that is like one of the Motocompacto merch pieces that's available. I don't particularly like the look of the helmet for a helmet I would wear. I like the overall looks of the helmet. It's just not my jam. But I think if you don't get one, I'm going to have to get one just to put it on the shelf. It's like documenting Motocompacto.
General aesthetics.
Yeah. I hope they really keep this thing going.
Well, welcome to our Motocompacto podcast.
Yeah. So let's move on.
Although this is like the most fun I've had. I'm going to stall out here and I'm going to like,
no, because the next one is something you put on here.
Oh, yeah.
So you found this crazy thing on Facebook Marketplace.
So I did this thing where I just scroll Marketplace and then try not to tell you about the things I find because I know you're going to freak out and want all of them.
Yes.
But every once in a while, I actually let you in on my findings. And sometimes I'm just like, is this cool or is this dumb? So I run it past you as like a temperature gauge of like, sometimes I think you're going to be interested and you're like, oh, that's just and you ramble off some like car and you already know what it is and it's not cool at all. It's just something that like, I've never seen. This kind of
no one has ever seen this.
Yeah, you better save these pictures before the listing is like, heaven forbid,
I'm going to make sure Wayback Machine archives this. But this will definitely be in the show notes.
It straight up looks, and my terminology is not even going to be great, like a coach that you would hook up to a horse if you were a princess in a Disney movie. For the most part, like the middle part. Yes. The middle third looks like
it is like a horse-drawn
something Cinderella
carriage.
would ride.
Yeah.
The back third looks like maybe the back end of an old Ford truck.
Well, it has a bench. You see that?
Okay, I didn't
as
really
a seating area.
But let's like to give the full picture. The front,
like a stagecoach.
The front you can take from here. Tell the people what the front is.
So this is listed as a 1980 classic Goldwing coach motorcycle trike. The front end does not appear to be a Goldwing. The front end looks more, I don't know. It probably hard. Yeah, it is definitely probably off of a Road King. Well, maybe not Road King. Probably like a Fat Boy. Harley, Fat Boy. So, your headlight with your spotlight on either side and your turn signals. It's got the shrouded forks. But then... So it has handlebars that this would be 1, 2, 3. They'd be 6 turn, like crazy bars. And there appears to be some type of shift knob on the dash. But there's also a shift lever, it appears, by your left foot. And there's no clutch.
I mean, it's very refined. It's very well done.
It is. The fit and finish is phenomenal. I just can't understand what's going on because there are not enough, there's not enough description attached to this thing. But it says it was designed and built by trike legend Norman L. Steele Sr., a.k.a. Stormer. And there's a little plaque.
That's the guy who has it listed, though, too.
Oh, is it?
So he's getting a shout out. Norman L. Steele Sr. listed the listing. And so he must be just a premium tinkerer. Yeah.
But it is like a stagecoach. It has like wood interior. It has a red phone inside that I can only assume calls up to the driver. If it doesn't, I'll be supremely disappointed. But then it has like a car radio in there, a small drawer, some shelf, like a little shelf by the one window, several switches.
Even the upholstery on the inside is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and all very like, I don't know, not over the top fancy, but like classy.
Yeah.
If someone was like making stagecoaches in, let's say, I don't know, 70s-ish, 60s-ish, as far as like what was considered high end to some extent.
It's a shame it's not more affordable. And I'm not saying that it should be because this guy made it and it's probably, he said it's appraised it even more than he's doing. I found pictures of it being made actually. I found on his profile page.
So,
but you could totally buy it and then like be someone who does like write-offs at weddings and stuff.
Yes, most definitely.
I feel like that would be really cool, but it'd be such a niche group that would be even interested in it probably.
Yes. It has a like license plate that says Cinderella spelled with an S. It is listed at $35,000. It says it has an appraised value of $55,000. Yeah, that's the kind of shift lever thing I was talking about. It appears to be an H-pattern shifter. I don't understand how this is based on a Goldwing at all if it has an H-pattern shifter.
He's semi-local. I mean, you could probably call him up, interview him. He probably is getting rid of it just because he needs to. I have a hunch he's on his way to retirement or something. But
it doesn't look like it's probably ever been on the road.
So he has this picture posted of, it looks like a chopper with a similar concept.
That is much more traditional.
Okay, so this is like a real thing.
Several of those.
You know what they're called?
I mean, it was just kind of a trike. Most of those were like
I'm
Volkswagen
showing a picture,
based.
but people
don't
see it.
It's got a long front end. Throw that in the notes so I can grab that picture and throw it in there. But yeah, stagecoach styly open front trike with like a long chopper front end on it. But yeah, I know this thing's just crazy. I'm sure he has a decent amount of money and time into this thing, but you look at it and you're like, I suppose someone probably would charge you $55,000 to make this.
Yeah, definitely worth it.
It's just hard. Well,
it's just a lot of money. It's
hard to wrap your mind around like paying $35,000 for this if this was not your dream.
So here's another thing he's made, since Norman is our new BFF, and this is just a random show of other things we're doing.
Did he make that?
He said it was he's ready for winter because his latest project is done. It looks like a snowblower on the front.
Well, so that's a snowblower mounted on the front of a John Deere subcompact, but like they make those aftermarket cabs.
Oh.
I don't know if he made that cab or if he just put it on aftermarket, but it has a cab on it.
And I'm proud of him for being proud of himself because there's not a lot of people that actually make their own stuff anymore.
Very true. Very true. But yeah, I was just kind of floored when you showed me this. It says, only one like it in the world. Yes. Yeah, I would believe that. Most definitely.
There's only one like you, Norman.
Yep. What is next? FIM has announced that they are going to have a women's motorcycling world championship next year. This is going to run kind of not. It doesn't appear, I don't think, going to be alongside. Yeah, it's not going to be every race, but it'll be 6 rounds, all running alongside the Superbike World Championship.
Is running alongside it?
Well, like when Superbike World Championship is at, like Donington, the women's will like
chase it,
championship will also be there. At least that's what I've gathered from this.
Well, they have all the dates and everything.
Because it says
listed.
all integrated within the Motul FIM Superbike World Championship.
Well, that's good.
So,
yes.
Let me throw a couple details out, and then I have questions for you. So, it is going to be a single model / single manufacturer championship. They will all be racing the Yamaha YZF R7 model. They're going to have a single technical and logistical partner. They want to make this as level of a playing field as possible. You have to be a minimum of 18 years old. You can opt to race under a team name. The entry fee is 25,000 euros. I think that converted, I saw somewhere to like 26,800 US dollars. That includes your use of the bike, a GYTR racing kit, Pirelli tires, fuel, racing service, and access to the paddock village.
And that's 6 races.
And a preseason test. Which, to actually go racing, as someone who's done very small scale local dirt track car racing, there are people at your local dirt track probably spending that in a season on a modified.
That's kind of crazy. What does it cost to do the men's? Is this probably more, right?
Well, so this is an exception. This is not how most racing leagues work. Most racing leagues, you have to buy your bike, you have to buy your fuel, your tires, etc. they're like, give us this money. We're going to prep the bike for you. You don't own the bike, but you get to use the bike. We can have all the tires there for you, the fuel. We've got someone to handle all the logistics, handle all the technical side as far as bike setup and stuff. There are other racing leagues like this, spec class racing leagues. Closest thing I can think of off the top of my head is kind of like Tony Stewart's SRX. They're all racing the same exact car that are all prepped the same, but no one's paying to do that, to my knowledge. Those are all invited racers.
So are the men's rides like that too, where they all have to ride the exact same bikes?
No.
Oh.
Nope, different manufacturers.
I wonder how it'll change in due time.
Well, I guess I should say that Superbike is not like that. But there are other men's racing classes that are like that.
Okay.
So like MotoGP has multiple different manufacturers, but like I know Moto 3 is single manufacturer. I don't remember if Moto 2 is, which are like the lower levels of MotoGP. Yeah.
I wonder how many other brands they ran this past before Yamaha picked it up, or do you think the Yamaha was the first?
Well, I don't know. The only other brand I know of that's doing something similar to this, specifically for women, is Royal Enfield. As we talked, I forget, a couple weeks ago about their Build, Train, Race program, where you can either go learn how to build, get training, and then race either flat track or road racing on a Royal Enfield. That's the closest thing I can think of to this. The question I had for you, though, is, I guess, what do you think of a women's only racing league? Are
women specifically excluded from the men's racing? Like, is it qualifying and women just like don't qualify, or is it explicitly
I can't tell
male?
you that specifically for Superbike. I don't know the rules, but in general, most racing does not exclude based on gender when we're talking about motorsports.
It's just qualifying, and obviously, I'm not extremely feminist in the sense that I'm going to go and say out there and say like women and men are equal, because I work out at a powerlifting gym. I know that that's not true. And that's not a problem. That's not a jab. That's just the reality of it. So it was kind of cool to see in this article, one of the other reps, I think it was the women's European champion, Beatrice Nila. She mentioned too, she's like, women are just different. Like, this is great to give them an opportunity. They're just physically built differently.
Yeah.
So like, why not give them a chance? The only challenge I think you run into is like the gender spectrum a little bit. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm not in the position to have to like say, put some sort of barriers, but at some point maybe, there'll be just different classes of qualifying, and then you can kind of just qualify in a certain way instead of like drawing that line.
Yeah. So I guess let me say this. I don't think the gender spectrum thing matters a ton in this context. What I will say, though, is I have mixed feelings on this. I think it is great to showcase women racing. Women are underrepresented at the upper levels of motorsport, four-wheel, two-wheel, or otherwise. Would you say any sport?
Yeah, I mean, ball sports and stuff, too. I
disagree. Tennis.
Okay. There's a few that,
there's exceptions to every rule.
There's definitely exceptions, but generally speaking in the States. The
thing, though, is I view motorsports as an equalizer because while it is physical, it is not physical in the same way that other sports are. However, I think motorcycle racing is outside those bounds. What I mean by that is if you put someone in a NASCAR, their gender is not going to predict their performance.
Yes, true.
Based on like their physical differences. With motorcycle racing, I guess there could be a difference. But as long as this kind of promotes women competing, and hopefully moving towards those upper levels of motorcycle racing, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope they don't get, I don't know, trapped, if that makes sense.
In what way?
Well, in the sense of like, not necessarily direct exclusion, but kind of, I don't know, de facto exclusion in the sense of like, teams not looking at them because like, oh no, they race in the women's championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably no different than not racing at all, though.
Sure. I just mean like, I don't want to, I hope teams like in Superbike,
mm-hmm.
when they're looking for a new rider, don't exclude the women in the women's championship from their selection process because they're like, oh no, they race in that league. We're looking for someone to race in Superbike. These aren't Superbike competitors. These are women's championship competitors.
Yeah, I guess that'll be like up to the brands to figure out like that's going to be another bias. They can decide whether or not, you know, like how they want to take the stance on that. And even if you have an underdog female compared to, you know, maybe a male that isn't, it's going to become their branding identity and they will gain publicity or market share, whatever you want to say. They're gonna gain some people just for acknowledging the women. It's just an opportunity to stand out, even if you're not winning. If you're supporting it, if you're a sponsor of these events, you know, that's like a huge opportunity. Someone said, I think it was Yamaha, said that 30% of their customers are women. 30%. Like, can you imagine just like completely like ignoring 30%, like every third customer? Like, that's huge. So that's why they picked it up, is because they're acknowledging that. And that's like, oh, well, like, I don't know, having a good brand or a good vendor, like, as someone who relies on vendors a lot for work and everything, it's like having a good vendor is literally like, it's part of your team. Like, you want to feel good about it. So I would say whatever people decide to do is going to reflect on them, or companies, not people. The companies themselves, whatever they decide to do, if, you know, and if it gets out that someone strongly, you know, rejected an opportunity, it's going to get out, you know, and if they're trying to win the female market share, they're like, doom on them, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's beneficial to Yamaha from a marketing standpoint for the same reason it's beneficial to Royal Enfield in some respect, that anyone to some extent, but also other women specifically, looking at these women racing like, oh, look, she's doing it on a Royal Enfield, or, oh, she's doing it on Yamaha. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get a Yamaha, right? Or I'm going to get a Royal Enfield. I want to be as badass as she is. Yeah,
and like we know from even just drag cars and stuff, you know, there is some female loyalty there that even if they don't win, the fact that they're represented will gain fans.
That's another one. I was going to throw that in. So like Top Fuel NHRA racing, that's another place where like motorsports is the equalizer. Your gender doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? The Force Girls, right? I'm going to mess up her name. Alexis DeJoria. Just multiple different women who've raced at the Top Fuel level and competed and been effective. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter their stature, their physique.
No, but if you're a girl
still
there
punching 10,000 plus horsepower down a quarter-mile track.
And if you're a female, whether you're with your young child and you're with your dad, or you're with your boyfriend, or with, you know, you're with your son, whoever you are as a female, I mean, there's a decent gender
tribal by nature. You're going to
buy their merch.
You're going to align with the person who is like you.
Yeah, and you're going to buy their merch. I mean, it's good for marketing. It's a pretty diverse crowd there. I would say if anything, maybe it's like a 40-60 or a 30-70 split, but there's a decent female representation.
At NHRA races?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, like I said, you're a girl, you're buying the pink shirt, you know, like it's perfectly fine. So like, why not?
They make non-pink women.
Well, I get that. I'm just extremely generalizing here that it's just it's fun, especially as like someone being, you know, a younger female. Like she would literally, you know, young girls want the pink. Like, and sometimes they don't. That's fine. There's plenty of other options. But like, if the men aren't going to make a pink shirt, you know, like totally like grip onto that, you know, and why not?
Yep. All right. Anything else you wanted to add before I move on to the next one?
Let me check my notes. Just that it'll be interesting to see like what happens in the future as far as like if there's new races created to combine them, if it's just qualifiers, like it probably
where does it evolve from here?
Exactly. Yeah, like what happens from here on out and who decides to take charge of that?
Yeah.
Is it carrying on something that already exists, or does some new race sponsor or something come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I want to do something completely new and taboo? Yeah. So like I said, might be 10 years down the road, but everything's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
No, but as long as that this opportunity continues, it's more than there was.
For sure. All right. The next one. This is interesting. So Evoque motorcycles, they make electric motorcycles. None of them have landed in the US yet, from what I can tell. But supposedly, this one is going to. The model that they had a 6061 before. This is the 6061 GT, which the name alone kind of throws me off. So some of you already probably picked up 6061 is an aluminum alloy. Why you would name your bike after an aluminum alloy is kind of beyond me.
Is it made out of that?
Probably to some extent.
Probably
but so
one
is a
piece.
Bunch of other bikes, right? Probably has an aluminum frame. Also has like a bunch of batteries in it and rubber tires, and like you didn't name it the Evoque vulcanized.
It looks funny.
Right. It is an interesting looking bike. It is somewhere between so they're pushing it as a tourer. It is a cruiser-ish. It is cruiser in the sense that a Ducati Diavolo is a cruiser. Meaning it is not a sport position. It does not look like a Harley.
370 miles?
No, so depending on how you do the math, 410 miles city. That's the crazy part.
Well, that's their claim to fame. I don't know if you said that. I'm trying to go through and skim this. Probably stealing your thunder here. No,
you're good. So 660 kilometers city range, which converts to about 410 miles. MSRP $24,995, so $25,000. It will DC fast charge to 80% in 30 minutes,
which is pretty insane. Is it better than
some
cars?
More insane because it's air cooled, according to their specs.
And that changes the charging speed?
When it's air cooled, you would charge slower because you cannot cool the batteries as fast. That's why I am skeptical about this bike to some extent. So let me give you a point of reference. The Zero DSRX, which is currently Zero's longest range bike, standard is 179 miles of city range. If you add the power tank, that's going to get you to about 220. And you're going to have in the neighborhood of about 20 kilowatt hours on that pack as far as the capacity. The 6160 GT is around 30 kilowatt hours. Now, everyone's got different efficiencies and the design of the bike and the motor selection and yada, yada, yada. If we just go, we know Zero numbers are pretty reliable. If we look at their numbers, we look at the difference in the battery pack size. That means the 6160's range is going to be closer to like 330, which does fall in line with Ride Apart was like the only publication that mentioned 370 miles of city range instead of 410, which is the direct kilometer to mile conversion.
It doesn't say city.
They didn't in theirs. They said 370 miles of range, but
maybe it's an average or something.
No, we would assume city because city's the highest number.
Oh, okay.
But based off of what Evoque has on their website, they list 660 kilometers, which converts to 410 miles. The Zero with the power tank to get you to 220 miles is $26,195 MSRP. So $1,200 more for at least 110 miles less, looking closer to 200 miles less city range, and you don't get DC fast charging. So this is interesting for a few reasons. One, I'm not convinced yet it's not vaporware, meaning I don't know if we'll ever actually see this bike.
Oh, you think the bike itself is just like smoke?
Well, they're taking pre-orders.
Scam?
Yeah.
I wonder what the return policy is on that
exists.
It's like Kickstart.
Yeah. I mean, they make bikes. I hope this comes to fruition. It's just like blowing everything else out of the water in terms of price to range and just the realities of what we see across the industry right now.
Well, I mean, it looks pretty funky. That would compensate for the giant battery.
Well, yeah, that's how they got more battery in there for sure.
I like the seat. I'd ride one. Now, here's a potentially, I don't want to say dumb, but I kind of feel like the question's obvious. The answer's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Are electric bikes all automatic transmission?
No.
Really? So can still be like gears and a clutch within an electric vehicle?
Yes.
Oh, so
apparently
what does default?
You glazed over during my history of electric motorcycles. But that's okay.
I was so far gone.
Most of them are automatic because most of them have no transmission. There are exceptions to that rule. So but most of them are twist and go like a scooter.
If it's not mentioned, what is the default?
Automatic. Just twist and go, no
Otherwise,
gears.
it would say there's a clutch.
Yes, because that is a selling feature to
men.
Oh, what? To men? No, I mean to people who still want the clutch experience from like an internal combustion bike. Like Kawasaki has talked about that they want to maintain gears.
The OGs want the actual experience.
The Bramo Impulse and the Victory Impulse had a 6-speed manual transmission.
I'd ride this.
Yeah? It's fast.
I don't need to go fast. I only need to go like 12 miles an hour.
You know what'll do that for less? The Motocompacto. Yeah, it's just...
I like the seat.
If they deliver on what they're claiming, it's just going to blow everyone out of the water.
So if someone wants to buy me one,
$25,000
I will consider riding my first motorcycle. For the everyday low price of 20, how many thousand?
25,000.
25,000.
Yeah. So no one's had like this just groundbreaking change in battery technology for this to exist in the sense of like they have something no one else has,
so
which is why I don't fully
real?
believe. Well, we got to wait to see one actually get delivered to a customer.
And you saw the Motocompacto finally had real people, not just journalists on it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So Evoque 6061 GT. Link will be in the show notes. Crazy bike if they make it.
We're waiting.
Yep. Man, let's see here. Try and pace ourselves because we are already almost at an hour.
You can go through some of this stuff. We'll just zip through it.
Okay.
We haven't even gotten to the
We haven't got to any EICMA coverage yet. Indian Motorcycles got some 2024 updates. New audio system. 100-watt speakers. They don't explain if they're actually feeding the speakers 100 watts. They don't explain if they're 100-watt RMS speakers or 100-watt peak speakers, but they have new, according to them, better speakers. Great. The part that I am intrigued about is they're doing a limited edition of the FTR R Carbon. The limited edition is a co-branding with 100%. If you're not familiar with 100%, they're a motocross brand.
What a weird name. That's it? 100%.
Yep. Well, yeah, it's like ride 100% and like...
It's like 98 degrees.
Yeah, their logo is like the number 100 with a percent sign most of the time, or they'll write it out.
What a marketing nightmare when you're trying to like write documentation and stuff.
Yeah. So it's going to retail, so the MSRP is $18,999. They're making 400 units. For $19,000, you're getting the Indian FTR R Carbon with the 100% branding on it. And you're getting a complimentary pair of sunglasses.
It better be some good sunglasses.
They're Indian and 100% co-branded sunglasses.
India can put their logo on anything.
Yes, but this also has the 100% logo on it. It has both.
Okay. I feel like 100% is just giving me like a punk rock vibe.
So I don't grasp why they're doing this. What is the cross section between Indian motorcycles whose outside of this, their brand image is first. We were the first American motorcycle company. Like,
yeah, they're very classic.
And if you talk to NOCO guys, they'll talk about what did they call it? Stolen, like they're basically stealing heritage, like fake heritage. They have a term for it though, I forget. Because it's not the original Indian company, right? We're like 5 sets of hands down the road since the original Indian company.
Generations, you mean, kind of?
Well, the name was been sold off. It's got slapped on imported bikes, now it's owned by Polaris.
Well, maybe you just answered your question. Maybe there's just someone has a connection somewhere in the company and they're like, hey, what if we did this? And like someone lost a bet or someone had too much power or something.
What I'm saying is like, you've got this thing where it's like, we're better than Harley because we were first and we're more American and like red-blooded American inside and out, right? We're better, we're older. But it's all about street bikes. Where does motocross turn in? Like, how does that tie into this? What is the cross section between people who both want to buy an Indian, specifically an FTR, and also are into motocross enough to pay extra for a limited edition FTR because it has 100% on it? And don't forget that you can just buy 100% decals and put it on a regular FTR.
I'm still trying to figure out why Muskie Boy bought Twitter, and I just feel like it's the same thing happening here.
Yeah, it seems like such an odd decision to me. I guess we'll see.
Maybe something will leak. Something will come out later, and they'll be like, oh, I mean, I guess if there's any way to see how many they actually sell would be kind of an interesting thing to know.
They only have to sell 400 of them.
400
so
is a lot, but that's an expensive bike. And you said that, like, who wants this? We are about to find out.
Here's the weird part. Most of their other, like, co-branded limited editions have been Jack Daniels. They've done, like, Jack Daniel versions of their bikes.
Can we not overlap alcohol and riding?
Sure, but that already overlaps. There are people who are really into Jack Daniels and really into Indian motorcycles. That one makes sense.
I'm glad there's something out there for everyone. I guess we wait and see.
Yeah. All right. Moto Guzzi has some updates to the V85 platform. Getting an extra trim this year. So in addition to the V85 TT and the TT Travel, there will now be also the Strata. The Strata is going to be a road-oriented trim. It's going to have alloy wheels instead of spoked wheels. Is not going to have all the fancy suspension upgrades that are also coming. The more interesting thing to me is another bump in power to that platform. It's an 853cc air-cooled V-twin. It's going to be up to 80 horsepower. The last year of the Harley Sportster 883, it made about 50 horsepower. So they're pushing 30 more horsepower out of less displacement than Harley. Also out of an air-cooled V-twin. Don't understand that, but I'm glad Moto Guzzi is able to figure it out. All right. Anything to add to there before we jump into EICMA?
Nope. Have you been watching this live on occasion, or what are you watching? Is it live?
I woke up early.
You woke
Tuesday,
up early?
And yeah. The first thing I put on Tuesday morning was EICMA press conferences.
I didn't know you did that intentionally.
Yep.
Look at that.
So I don't know. We're going to cover everything that's already been announced. There's going to be more that will be announced by next episode. So there will probably be a part 2 to EICMA coverage. We will start out of order of the notes. Let's start with Royal Enfield.
Because they're your BFFs.
Yep. Finally got confirmation on the Himalayan.
Wait, they say it differently. How do they say it? I can't unthink it. We're too American. Himalaya.
Sure. Yep.
It is. It's Himalaya.
Yeah. So finally have confirmation on all the specs, colors, trims.
Which is pretty much what we thought, right?
Yeah. The only thing we didn't really know fully is like all the accessories that are going to be coming out. Tons of accessories.
And you like the black and gold one still?
Yeah, I mean, the white, I still like too.
The Himalayan salt color?
No.
Oh.
The salt one is...
Is that not white?
No.
Technically, it should be pink.
The salt is gray with red.
Oh. I don't know if there's a
Comet
picture.
white is the white with the gray decals. But, yeah, we've gotten to see more of the dash setup, fully integrated Google Maps. Still mixed feelings for me on that because I really like the old dash cluster. We know 2 riding modes, a performance and an eco mode. They say 2 ABS options, basically on, or you can disable the rear ABS. They don't really feel like options to me. It's just on, or you can turn half of it off. Fuel tanks, slightly bigger than the last one. Royal Enfield's saying around a 280 mile range. Again, confirmation on horsepower numbers, 39.5 horsepower, so right around that 40 horsepower mark. 6-speed transmission instead of 5. I forget if that was already leaked. Yeah.
You still love it as much as you thought you did before?
Well, I'm less mixed on it than I was before.
Less mixed? So
yeah,
which way do you sway?
I'm liking it better the more I stare at it. There was, I said originally, whenever the first leak pictures came out, there was something weird with kind of the leading edge of the quote-unquote frame, because there isn't a frame. Last generation, because it had a frame, from the steering neck down to kind of the bottom of the bike was more vertical, and this has much more of an angle to it, which I didn't like as much at first. The one thing, though, I'm going to forget his name. I think it's Mark Wells. I forget his title specifically at Royal Enfield, but he's been sharing some kind of behind the scenes pictures on Instagram. They had one of these black and gold ones in their initial color testing, I think, where the rear subframe, instead of being painted black, was painted gold. That thing looked slick. So I think you're going to see at least a few people take that rear subframe off and paint it. But as far as accessories they're bringing out for it, the hard panniers, just like the last one, it looked like a skid plate, 2 different types of engine guards, if I remember correctly. The one thing that's interesting is they're bringing out a second seat type that's much more dirt bike-like flat.
I wonder what the reason for that is. If it's for the train difference?
Yeah, more off-roady oriented seat, you know?
Yeah, I will say, I think maybe you mentioned it. They didn't have girls unveil their bikes.
Yeah, so they were one of the only ones who didn't have booth girls, which is fine. I find it funny that booth girls are a thing again.
Booth bunnies.
Yeah, they had died out and now they're back again.
Well, the one that I watched, it was one of the other links in here. The girls definitely hadn't rehearsed. You could see them being like, all right, I'll do this. And they were so busy focused on what they were doing. They weren't smiling or anything, looking like they were enjoying it. And it reminded me of cutting your cake at the wedding. Not just me and you specifically, but every single person I've ever seen. It's just that really important thing that you forget to rehearse. Yeah,
well, because it feels like it's going to take 2 seconds, and how hard can cutting a cake be?
You're like, oh yeah, we've cut cakes before, and then you realize that oh, this is a monumental occasion, and there's a lot of people taking pictures, and this is...
We're both going to put our hand on the cake cutter, and
there's going to be video of it. Heaven forbid there's video of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it falls on the photographer to tell anyone what to do, so you don't look as awkward as you feel. Those poor girls, like I said, they look like they were just picked out of the crowd. Here, put this on.
Yeah.
Pull this off.
Yeah.
They had never pulled a tarp off a bike before. And I don't know if there's a good way to do it. You could just tell they were focused so hard they didn't know where to stand. And I felt bad for them. But of course, that's what I paid attention to. Probably no one else did.
No, I noticed that.
It wasn't Royal Enfield, obviously. No. That was a different one.
No. So the one thing that was funny, the CEO handled most of the kind of the beginning kind of setup of why Himalaya, the Himalaya range is like important to them as a company and why the Himalayan bike is important to them. And then at the end, he was going over like the bike's going to be able to be ordered in India. I think he said November 24th, maybe like end of this month. He said it'll be available in Europe in spring. And then that was it. And then a journalist, I mean, at least I'm assuming journalist, someone from the crowd was like, so what about the US? And he's like, after that. And they're like, yeah, but what about the US? And he's like, yeah, after Europe.
So mind your business, sit down. I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah. So when? Yeah. So we'll see it eventually. Back to my estimate of the Super Meteor was about 10 months, which means that's going to put us, if we include November, August.
Super Meteor?
The Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650 took 10 months to get to the U.S.
Oh, I didn't know that. Not know that was a bike.
Yep.
I thought we were like doing star signs or something now.
Yeah. No, so that means if it takes them 10 months to get the new Himalayan to the U.S., it's going to be here in August, just in time for the end of riding season. The other issue I see
Maybe we can get a discount then.
Yeah. The other issue I see is I didn't see Royal Enfield confirm this, but I saw this discussed in a few different places that the current Himalayan is not going to continue side by side with this one. It's going to be replaced by this one. So if they stop production of the current 411 model to make the 452, what's the U.S. market going to get until it gets the 452? Just no Himalayans?
Well, maybe they'll...
My only thought...
I don't know, maybe they'll take pre-orders or something.
Yeah. For an unannounced date of release.
Yeah, we just did that with the Motocompacto.
Well, it at least had a launch date of November 1st, even if they didn't make it. My only thought is because the Scram is still on the 411 platform, that they probably will have a line still making the Himalayan 411 for export until the 452 makes it to the U.S. But we'll see. The other exciting thing they showed off was this kind of test mule that they have that is for an electric bike. It is called the Him-E, which is funny because one of the nicknames for Himalayans is Himis, like Himmy. Yeah. So it is the Him-E, Him-E. So basically an electric Himalayan. Didn't really talk any specs because this isn't going to be like, what they showed off is not a concept of a production bike. It is just them saying, we're working on it. We're working on electrifying our bikes. We're going to get there. We feel confident in our approach. And here's, just you can see what we've been doing.
I do just really like the metal saddlebags on the Himalayans. Yeah. I'm all about like function, and I just think it looks cool.
What's the passenger comfort rating?
Let me open it back up. Is this the one that supposedly had the little flippy thing for the back seat, though? Like a little backrest thing? I feel like I saw that on one of them when we talked about it last time.
I don't know.
Or you said maybe there's something you can get that attaches to that back.
Well, you can get
crate thingy.
Yeah, the crate you can get like pads for. And then there's also like aftermarket armrests that it can attach to the top box.
Well, I would say it's not worse than the Vulcan. Your Vulcan.
Well, that means it's horrible then. Because Vulcan's got like, what, a 1 out of 10 from you?
That one hurts my hips and all the things. I'm not saying you can't get acclimated to it, though. The seat is definitely wider. Even the rider's seat has a little bit more of a wedge aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
Rider's got a little bit more cush back there. It's a little rounder. And I would say if you had... See, the big thing for me is feeling like I'm not going to fly off the back every time you accelerate. I want a little bit of closure.
Mm-hmm.
So stock, I wouldn't be nearly as excited as if it actually had back padding somehow. Whether it be just a little like pad that like screws into that little ledge there.
The cargo rack. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the gripability?
That's fine. That's really all I need.
Okay. Because
I just need those little
some
like
type of handle.
Side things.
Yeah.
Granted, it depends on like, I don't want this to sound bad, but like depending on your body shape, how easy it is to grip those. Like if that seat's really narrow and those grip bars go underneath you.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
might be trying to grab your butt. Yep.
Well, you can't grab underneath you very well.
Yeah.
You know, it's as long as you can grab them, that's one thing. But there is no pictures with people on them. There's videos with people on them, but there's no pictures with people on them. And there's definitely, at least of the links you've provided, no pictures with riders on them. So that would be something worth seeing at some point.
I will show you some. There's a bunch out there.
Do they look happy? Do they look comfortable?
Yes. They look like they're ecstatic that they're on a Himalayan, yeah. So, CF Moto brought all the concepts that we talked about last week.
Those were the girls.
Yep, I think those were the girls you were talking about.
They were definitely the girls.
The other bike they brought was actually leaked ahead of time by, I believe, the CF Moto France Instagram. So they announced the CF Moto 450 MT. So this is a 450 adventure bike. And I am a little worried for Royal Enfield.
Why?
Well, because the Himalayan has departed slightly from its very retro, neo-retro roots, as far as like it had analog dash, which I liked, and it was very traditionally styled. And now they're like updating it slightly, and they're like, now we're water cooled and we have a digital dash and like we're slightly more modern aesthetic. Yeah, well, CF Moto is bringing a 450 to market like Royal Enfield is. Also adventure, except CF Moto's is a 450 twin instead of a single. They're doing a 270 crank, so the exhaust note's going to be better, at least in my opinion. Slightly more power, 43.6 horsepower. And I know Royal Enfield's parent company, Eicher, I believe is the pronunciation, Motors, is pretty big, but CF Moto is pretty big. And it'll just be interesting to see where they land on this price-wise. Because right now, that 650 Adventura that I had showed you, that is selling for $39.99. That's a 650 right in the States. Right now, I can go buy a 650 twin adventure bike from CF Moto. That's less than a new Royal Enfield Himalaya. Now they're going to have a directly comparable. You want a 450? We got a 450. Except ours has one more cylinder. And ours is a little more modern looking. And ours just seems to have a little more everything. So if they come in at the same price or less price, for people who aren't like super brand loyal.
Wait, same price for less price? You mean less power?
No, sorry. At the same price or less price.
Less.
Yeah, okay. A lower price point. Sorry. If people aren't like super like, I'm buying a Himalayan and they're just like, I want an adventure bike and I want one on the smaller side. Something in the 450-ish class. I worry that the CF Moto is going to be like a really great value proposition. So,
how easily available are those? Do you know of like a CF Moto dealer off the top of your head?
Yes. Oh. I can take you to the nearest Royal Enfield dealer to us is at least an hour. How far is Warren?
Probably about an hour.
Yeah, about an hour. Then after that, the only other one, let's see, there's one in Cleveland somewhere. I think they're attached to the BMW dealer. And then after that, it's Columbus. It's Throttle Company, to my knowledge.
Okay. And what about CF Moto?
Well, you've got all the Johnny K's locations.
Oh, there's a lot of those. There's like 3 of those in Cleveland.
Yep, you got all the Johnny K's locations. You've got Harding Park Cycle down in Canton, I believe is a CF Moto. You have that one that we couldn't figure out how to pronounce, Sheets or something.
Mm-hmm.
They have all the 650s that are like really marked down.
So what you're saying is there's actually like a decent amount of competition.
Yeah.
I didn't think
this isn't an oddball brand anymore.
This goes back to the whole me just assuming because I've never heard of them that they don't exist. But obviously, I am not the person to ask.
Well, and I don't think they have the same market penetration yet. But I think we're getting to the point that they're on the brink. I think that you're going to be running into more and more CF Motos out in the wild.
Have you ever seen one out in the wild?
Not a 2-wheeled CF Moto to my knowledge. Not knowingly.
Do you ever look for them? We should do like a bingo card. Like go to a motorcycle rally and do a bingo card.
Yeah.
Give away free stickers and stuff to the people we see, but
yeah,
get a free sticker if you got a random bike.
I've seen people on their 4-wheelers. I've never knowingly looked for one of their motorcycles.
Okay, well, we need to start a bingo card for next year.
Okay. Let's pick maybe 1 or 2 more. Which ones you want to hit?
I'm not the right person to ask. Why don't you at least do, or if you want to go through them quickly, that's fine. But the ones I've heard of, like Honda, you could do Benelli, Kawasaki, if you want to go
if
through
we're going to do
quick,
Honda, we're going to do Kawasaki.
Okay.
We're going to do Honda and Kawasaki.
Do the big name ones.
Honda, a few different things they're showing off. We now know the 650 twins are being updated, getting some revised styling, new features, looked like new dash. They're also going to be the first Hondas to get that new E-clutch that we mentioned.
Oh yeah, didn't that make it? It made it
computer controlled clutch.
Yeah, automatic. Kind of.
Automatic sort of, but an automatic manual transmission. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yep. The other thing that is exciting, because if you remember back, you asked me if I had to pick a bike to ride across the country. I said it might actually be one of those CB 500Xs, which is Honda's current 500cc adventure bike-ish.
Mm.
They're bringing the NX line back to the 500. So they're doing the NX 500, kind of middleweight adventure bike. This also is going to be in that kind of Himalayan 450, CF Moto 450 MT territory.
If you had to pick Honda thingy you were talking about or Himalayan, which would you pick?
As much as there's a lot of stuff I like, but I think you would tell me the same thing that I'm about to say, that I just need to get the Himalayan and get it out of my system.
It's true. That's exactly
because
what I would
otherwise,
say.
if I buy anything else, I'm going to be like, should have got the Himalayan. Right?
I'll say, yep, you should have.
Well, it's just been on my list for a while. But yeah, it's not a radical departure from the CB500X. It's definitely an evolution of that platform. 47 horsepower, slipper clutch, 6-speed, 19-inch front, 17-inch rear. They say approachable seat height. It is approachable to me. I prefer taller seats, but I'm kind of long-legged compared to a lot of people.
Yeah, you're a taller person.
Yeah, 32.7-inch seat height, which I don't know that would ever have considered that approachable in general for people. But yeah, so they've got a newly updated 500cc adventure bike, which is great because it seems like everyone's doing that. Kawasaki.
I think, okay, what's the difference between an adventure bike and a tour bike?
Okay, so touring is a whole category, and then within touring you have adventure touring, sport touring.
Oh my gosh.
Or cruiser touring, right?
So I need like a family tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there a follow-up question to that?
Well, I was trying to figure out the difference between like an adventure bike and a touring bike, but apparently
a touring bike
all
in general.
adventure bikes are touring bikes, but all touring bikes are adventure bikes.
I guess technically not necessarily. So the adventure bike slots between a normal road-going bike and a dual sport.
Is that what a Himalayan is?
Yes. You're going to get yourself all messed up trying to do the Indian pronunciation of that.
Himalayan.
Yeah.
No, it was more or less my late night slur.
Gotcha. Yeah, the Himalayan is an adventure bike. So, but I guess, yeah, some of them are better for touring than others. Mm-hmm. They all are kind of designed to go a decent amount of distance, though. Mainly because they're designed to be off the road, away from society, right?
Oh, that's what I want to be.
Let's get some Himalayans and go disappear.
I mean, I don't want to be too far away from society. I still want to be
able to be away
like,
from society, but like 15 minutes from a Target.
Like a clean bathroom.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yeah. Kawasaki also announcing some 500s. They're going to be making a Ninja 500 and a Z 500. These are going to be 500 twins. They're using the same engine. Now, they're not actually 500 twins. At least it doesn't sound like they're going to be. Sounds like they're going to be 450s because they're going to use the same engine out of the 450 Eliminator. This is interesting because they already have a Ninja 400. They have a Ninja 600, the 650. The 650 being more of a kind of, I don't know, standard, not a full-blown super sport. The 400 being kind of more sporty, not quite as standard or easygoing as the 650. And then they have the crazy, was it ZX4R or RR, the inline 400. So how it appears that they're positioning these is a smaller version of like the Ninja 650 and the Z 650 in the sense of based on the Eliminator motor. So more kind of not aggressive, not super sport style power delivery, but smaller. And they couldn't call it a 400 because they already have a 400. And for whatever reason, they didn't want to call it a 450. I hope this leads to them updating the Versys X to a 500 or also releasing a 500. Partially because that appears to be where everyone's going, is in that 450-500 range for small adventure bikes.
Small.
Yeah, small-ish. They also released or showed off the Z7 hybrid, which is identical to the Ninja 7, except their naked version. The Z-Bike. Apparently, they decided to show that off at EICMA instead of throwing it in a press release. And then the kind of last bit here, I put it under Kawasaki because it has a Kawasaki engine. Bimota showed off the Terra, T-E-R-A. What more could you possibly want out of an adventure bike than a supercharged 1000cc four-cylinder? So they're taking. I hope
that's rhetorical.
Yeah. So they're taking the H2 power plant from Kawasaki and building an adventure bike around it. So whatever, 197 horsepower, just absolutely, bonkers like most of the stuff Bimota does. Crazy suspension options. They've got electronically controlled options in addition to the standard Öhlins. Just cool to see people push stuff to the limit. I will throw this bit on here. I enjoy my Kawasaki Vulcan. Mm-hmm. I wish the 900 had an additional gear, which causes me to look every once in a while, hoping that there are more Kawasaki Vulcan updates on the horizon, because they haven't really done much other than bring out the Vulcan S.
A high gear or a low gear?
another gear at the top end.
Mm-hmm.
So most of your kind of off-season Kawasaki rumors end up coming from a publication out of Japan called Young Machine. And normally that's with help of like Google Translate. And I think it's been 2 full years now since they basically said Kawasaki was going to come out with a Vulcan H2. So a cruiser with the supercharged inline 4 engine in it, which was kind of going to be like a return to muscle bikes. So if Bimota is doing an adventure bike with the H2, I still think there's room for a cruiser with an H2, and I hope Kawasaki does it. They'll probably, I guess I don't have a huge issue with them calling it an Eliminator because the Vulcan name originally kind of implied the V-twin, although they didn't seem to care when they made the Vulcan S a 650 parallel twin, and Suzuki doesn't seem to be phased about keeping the V-Strom name, even though they've removed all the V-twins from the V-Strom. So some type of Kawasaki H2 cruiser I'd still be excited for.
Kawasaki H2 cruiser. I'll put it on the list.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
About those?
No, just in general.
Oh.
We're going to cut off EICMA there. We will pick it back up next week and add in whatever other stuff happens between now and then.
What do you think the highlight has been so far?
For me, I thought it was going to be Royal Enfield, which it was to some extent, but it was mostly just validation of stuff I already knew just because there were so many leaks. The highlight at this point has really been the CF Moto 450 MT. It's just if they deliver at the price point that I'm kind of expecting them to, because they'd have to slot it under the 650. And their current 650 Adventure has an MSRP of like 6,700 off the top of my head. So hopefully this thing comes in around like 5 something. And if they can come in under that, that means they're going to beat the Himalayan as far as price point's concerned. And it just seems like it's going to be a lot of bike for the money.
Yeah, I wish like we could see like breakdowns and stuff too, because there's just like, as an outsider, again, I'm constantly amazed that there's more bikes that I've never heard of. And I'm like,
we didn't even get into weird ones.
Who is buying? Like, I guess like I'm interested as well in like, how do people shop? You know, do you just hit the Google? And like, to me, the whole approach of it all is interesting because you're like, well, like, yeah, this has more power and stuff, but not everyone shops like you. Like when I bought a car, it's like, well, I know I want like Honda, Toyota. I didn't even want a BMW before I bought it. I shop based on brand because it's reputation, because I'm not as invested in specs. So like people like you are going to shop like you, but not everyone is like you.
Oh, 100%. There's people who are going to buy a Honda no matter what. Right. The funny part is outside of like manufacturers doing demo days, fewer and fewer dealers allow test rides.
Well, I can't really blame them.
Sure, but can you imagine buying your car and not test driving it?
Yeah.
Okay, now think about all the motorcycles that cost more than your car did.
Granted, I've never bought a new car, and they don't let you test drive. I guess at least new cars that have dibs on them. Well,
they're not going to let you test drive someone else's car.
Yeah, but when that was the only option to test drive, that was tough.
Like, well, that was just the pandemic. There wasn't units available. Yeah.
So that was like a hard reality. But yeah, I mean, riders are just more risky, obviously. Like, there's a lot more things that could go wrong on a bike than a car.
Yeah.
And
I mean, in some ways, as far as like things can get bad faster.
Yeah, you just hit a loose patch of gravel and you're down. Yeah. You know, it's like, well, who's paying for that?
Yeah.
It's just higher risk. I get it. I'm not saying I agree with it because I don't really know. I would not be comfortable with that scenario, but I mean, you can ride a bike if you have your temps. You don't have to be licensed. And I know that I have my temps and I haven't ridden at all. So I wouldn't want me on a bike.
You say that, but you have ridden.
I rode a scooter at 12 miles an hour. That
Twice.
does not. Therefore, I should not be test driving a Harley.
Well, I didn't say that you should test ride a Harley, but to say you haven't ridden.
Okay, you're giving me way more credit than I deserve.
Okay. Well,
I'd be afraid to test drive a bike.
We're going to ride the scooter somewhere this weekend. I think it's going to be up in the 50s.
Nice and warm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
we'll figure it out later, and
yeah. Maybe I'll give you some quick teasers of what we're going to cover next week as far as what I know right now.
Unless something more exciting happens.
Yeah, Towjet's got some new stuff. Benelli's got a bike that's very intriguing. MV Agusta finally decided on a name for their new bike. And Lambretta apparently is doing stuff.
Is Lambretta alive?
Yes.
Who owns
it? Not the original company.
So someone just has...
We're going to cover that next week, too.
Someone has rights to the Lambretta name.
Yeah. They're making scooters, though. But yeah, we'll cover the Lambretta evolution of kind of where are they now.
That'll be interesting. Yeah. I don't know much other than that show you made me watch.
Which show?
Movie? It was a movie. You're testing me. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The movie with the Lambrettas and the gang, not gang, I don't know. The separation of people. I don't remember any of the plot beyond that. You don't remember the Lambretta movie you made me watch?
I don't know what.
Is the only reason I've ever heard of them. Was it? No, it wasn't. I literally have just Googled it. And I'm not coming up with luck. And people.
Oh, Quadrophenia?
Was that what it was? I was going to say that, and I don't remember if that's what it was.
Yeah, Quadrophenia.
Well, I don't know why I couldn't remember that.
Mods versus rockers.
Are they a fear of four wheels? Is that what Quadrophenia is?
Oh, I don't know. I never really thought about that. Yeah. Huh.
Well, we're about to find out because I'm doing.
We should watch that again.
The term quadrophenia refers to Jimmy's personality that is split 4 ways, each way representing a member of his favorite band, The Who.
Oh.
Nothing like watching a movie without understanding context and then
of the title.
But yeah, making me study the two-wheeled vehicles within. Yeah. Okay.
So what'd you say? We're going to watch it again? I agree.
With all the spare time we have. Yes. Indeed, dear.
Okay. But yeah, so we'll tack on a little quick update on how Lambretta got to where they are. So,
and if anything strikes your fancy, feel free to hit the Google.
Yep. And otherwise, send us emails, podcast@motohop.co. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
Bye.